Yeah, it's been 2 months. Don't get your panties in a bunch, god damn it. The year is 2002. You're just born. Then, a few years later, your parents come home with a DVD of a movie that came out the same year you came out of your mom. That sacred DVD is a movie called Dooby-Dooby-Doo, Where Are You? It's the best live action movie. Based on a cartoon. It captures the essence of a cartoon really well, and it works within the realm of reality better than any other cartoon movies. The movie starts and the gang's on a mission. There's a spooky ghost in a warehouse and Velma's devised a plan, but it all starts going to hell. Daphne gets kidnapped, Scooby's tail is sticking out of a barrel, Fred misses the ghost with his hose, and Velma gets hung. By her feet. In the end, they get the ghost and news reporter Pamela Anderson comes to interview Fred. Fred takes the credit for Velma's plan and she gets pissed. Her, Fred, and Daphne start arguing, but then Shaggy steps in to mediate. That can only go well.
I know I'm just the dude that carries the bags, but it seems to me we all play an important part in this group. I mean, we're just like a big, delicious banana split.
I guess it didn't go too well because they all went their separate ways and now Shaggy and Scooby are left with the van. Now it's 2 years later and there's smoke coming out of the van. I bet you it's weed. Okay, I guess they're just cooking burgers. Never mind, I forgot this is a kid's movie. While they're eating their burgers, there's a knock on the door and they assume it's someone wanting them to solve a mystery, but they don't do that anymore, so they try and run. They jump out of the van and the guy who was knocking on the door is there, obviously. I don't know how they thought they were going to run away, but it's not hard. They were going to run into him one way or another. They jump out of the van and they're invited to Spooky Island to uncover a mystery. They were initially hesitant, but what got them to go is the all-you-can-eat buffet. Who would have thunk with those two? So it turns out the other three also got invited. So now the gang's back together. But wait, they don't invite dogs on the plane. Invite? Allow. But that's not a problem. I got an idea.
You've got to be kidding. No one is stupid enough to believe that.
Who's the ugly old broad?
Wow. Is that a Great Dane on his hind legs or just a hot grandma? I'm getting the vapors. So they let Grandma on the plane and Shaggy and Scooby are sitting there. But then Shaggy sees the girl of his dreams with the name of his dreams. That being Mary Jane. He likes this girl so much he shoos Grandma to the back of the plane to sit by Velma and Fred. One plane ride later and we're here on Spooky Island ready to solve the mystery. All we know now is that people who come to the island are normal, but when they leave they become irritable super soldiers. Later on in the night, Shaggy, Scooby, and Mary Jane go to the bar, and Scooby gets an interesting phone call.
Hello? Got a bag of, hamburgers here for you. Just walk into the dark, shadowy part of the forest where no one can see you.
Okay.
After Scooby goes into the woods, Shaggy wins Mary Jane a stuffed head, and Daphne walks in on a guy sacrificing a raw chicken.
I was about to sacrifice this chicken.
But that chicken's not alive.
I know that chicken is not alive, smart little girl. What, you figured it out when you saw it didn't have a head?
She tells the guy how she's trying to solve a mystery, and he says not to go up to the castle.
You want me to go up to that castle.
Didn't you just hear what I said?
But you're scary. And you knew I'd do the opposite of what you said. So you told me not to go to the castle, so I would go up to that castle where you set a trap to capture me.
Huh?
I'll find out what you're hiding in that castle. You watch.
What in the world?
I don't think that was reverse psychology. I think that was a real warning. I always trust guys who sacrifice raw chickens. Now, back to Scooby and his burger deal. He finds the burgers hanging from a tree, but he's been being followed by a monster. Scooby gets spooked. He starts running up a tree to get away from the monster. Duh. He jumps off the tree. The monster's been following him, so he's on the tree. But then the tree becomes a catapult and flings the monster way over there. Scooby runs to Shaggy for protection, and Daphne brings both of them to a castle. Both don't want to do it, but they do it for a Scooby snack. They go into the castle, and it turns out that Fred and Velma are in there. And no, they're not fucking. Fred only fucks Daphne.
Let's split up and look for more clues. Daphne, you and I...
Typical.
What?
Oh, nothing. I was always picked last for the teams.
Okay. Daphne, exit through the entrance. Velma and I will enter here through the exit there. And Shaggy and Scooby, do whatever you guys do.
I know exactly what they do. They find the nearest kitchen and eat lunch.
Look at this, huh, Scoob? It's like a medieval sizzler. pinch me, I'm in. Ow! It's an expression, Scoob.
Rory.
What did I tell you? So while Shaggy and Scooby are having lunch, Daphne's playing with 2x4s, and Fred and Velma are bonding.
I never meant to, but you know, pick you last.
Don't worry about it, Fred. I know you. All you care about are swimsuit models.
No! Look, I'm a man of substance. Dorky chicks like you turn me on too. Such a compliment.
Hey, nerdy chicks turn me on just as much as Pam Anderson's one movie with Tommy Lee. So while they're bonding, there's a dwarf listening to them in the walls. So it turns out the castle's an old ride, so the dwarf turns on the ride. Daphne gets hit by the train car, Shaggy and Scooby are hung by sausages, and Fred and Velma hit a dead end. So Fred's fat ass turns off the ride, and everyone starts exploring the backstage part. So in Shaggy and Scooby's adventures, they find a set and have a burp contest.
I'll have whatever he's having. Are you challenging me?
It's the meme! That didn't go as planned. Aside from memes and failed bits, Daphne finds a special triangle, and Fred and Velma find a video explaining how to be a human. They assume it's part of a brainwashing cult, potentially ran by Mondavarius, who's played by Mr. Bean, who invited him to the island.
Let's get out of here.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the dwarf. His button summons a bunch of full-size people that look just like the dwarf to get rid of the gang, so after expertly dodging him, the gang goes back to the hotel and splits up to do whatever it is they're gonna do. Velma goes to the bar to decode the triangle, and Mr. Led Zeppelin sits down next to her. But he's not the only one sitting. One of the full-size dwarves sit down at the piano and starts playing to listen to Velma and Mr. Zeppelin's conversation. She starts reminiscing about the good old days, and enter Scrappy-Doo.
And when I find him, I'll give him a good dose of puppy power! Ta-da!
Oh, God, he's peeing on me.
Scrappy, I told you, no urinating on deck.
Yeah, no peeing on Daphne. That's my job. Back off.
It was an accident!
You were marking your territory.
You don't have the scrote for this job, Pally!
Isn't this supposed to be a kid's movie? I don't think you can talk about the scrotum in a kid's movie. And if you do, I don't think they know what they are. And if you're a kid watching this video and you don't know what a scrotum is, ask your mother. Then the gang kicks Scrappy-Doo out of the van, and we fade back to present day, and Velma's either drunk or has gotten really close to Mr. Zeppelin in the last minute and a half. Then it cuts to Scooby, and he's watching the guy play piano and looks out the window and sees the monster from before and gets spooked. Oh god, it's a scary monster. I gotta run.
I tell you, there are no such thing as ghouls, ghosts, goblins, or monsters. Now listen up. There is absolutely no such thing. Monster!
Then the non-existent monster gets Fred and pulls a green goblin on him. Sleep. Then Velma, like the dumb bitch she is, loses her glasses, and another monster hands them to her and puts her to sleep. Then Shaggy, Scooby, Daphne, and Mary Jane run away from the monsters, and the monsters then bring the other two to a cave. Mary Jane then decides to call the Coast Guard, and they say they're on their way. But something about his laughs tells me he's something up to something fucking fishy.
We need someone here right away.
Well, we do have a unit in the vicinity. Can you meet him at the pier?
Uh-huh.
All right, they'll be right there. Our friends have been kidnapped.
You may think this would be explained later, but it really isn't. There's things you can assume they did, but there's no real concrete answer as to what the Coast Guard did actually do. The next morning, the four fell asleep on the beach waiting for the Coast Guard, and they look back at the hotel and everything that happened the night before is magically fixed. Is this what the Coast Guard did? I don't know. How can you expect 4-year-old me to understand it? I don't know. God damn it. They decide to split up, and in doing so, Daphne walks by a band, and the singer starts singing to her, and she sees a little glint in his eyes. No, not like he wanted to fuck. I'm sure that was there. It was a little more paranormal. Spooky, if you will. I think he's a monster. Then Scooby's sniffing around, and he bumps into Fred, and Fred, he says the B word.
Fred? Yo, the biatch was like, what? And I was like, later on.
I don't think you can say bitch in a PG movie. Granted, this came out in 2002, but I don't think that's appropriate. I say we cancel Scooby-Doo right now. So it turns out everyone who isn't Shaggy, Scooby, Mary Jane, and Daphne are monsters. Everyone starts chasing Shaggy and Scooby, and Daphne runs into a luchador who steals her triangle. Oh yeah, never mind that thing about Mary Jane. I guess she's a monster too. She's just good at hiding it. Or maybe she was a decoy to get to the gang. Who knows? It's not explained, but maybe. She shows Scooby and tries telling Shaggy, but he doesn't believe him, and they get in a fight, and if I were Scoob, I'd back down. I wouldn't want Shaggy to use 100% of his power. While they're fighting, Scooby falls down a hole, and Shaggy jumps down to save him. He doesn't find Scooby, but he finds a bucket full of ghost heads. He finds Velma's head in a bucket, and takes it out and lets it go so she can return to her body. Also, turns out, monsters are vampires, because they can't live out in the sun, which is kind of unfortunate because they live on the beach. Then he finds Fred and Daphne's heads and lets them go, but they get a little mixed up and go to the wrong bodies. Then Fred makes the obligatory comment about seeing himself naked.
Hey, I can look at myself naked.
Oh, brother.
Then Shaggy shows up and shows that he stole back the magic triangle. The heads keep dancing around till they get to the right bodies, and then there's a fire in the distance. Watch out. Turns out it's the chicken guy doing another ritual, and we find out the monsters are going to do a ritual of their own. If they succeed, they will rule the earth for 10,000 years. For the ritual, they need a pure soul, and we find out where Scooby's been this whole time.
Scoobit, how are you, my friend?
We find out that Mr. Bean is behind all this, and asks Scooby to be the sacrifice for the ritual. The gang devises a plan to spill out all the souls, kill the monsters with a giant disco ball, but as the ritual starts, all hell breaks loose. How inconvenient, oh god. Fred and Velma fall to the floor, Shaggy and Daphne hit the walls, and people are coming in. Shaggy and Daphne are able to blend in and hide, while Fred and Velma give themselves away. Scooby's coming out to be sacrificed. He thinks it's a good thing, but Shaggy convinces him it's not, because that means no more Scooby. They agree to run away, but then Mr. Head Tattoo extracts Scooby's soul, and now Beaner has a triangle. Son of a bitch. Don't worry though, Shaggy uses his power to jump on Head Tattoos to extract her, and save Scooby from being sucked into the triangle. He ends up knocking over Mr. Bean, and they find out that he's a robot ran by Scrappy-Doo. From all the souls he's absorbed so far, he's able to grow into a really great Dane, and all he needs is to absorb Scooby's soul to complete the ritual. Meanwhile, Daphne's fighting a luchador on the roof and ends up winning and pushes him through the vent, and he spoils out the souls, and everything goes right according to plan. How convenient! There's only one issue though, Scrappy's still a Mega-Doo. Don't worry, Shaggy gets the extractor, he rips the triangle off Scrappy's chest, and all's well that ends well, baby. Velma's reunited with Mr. Led Zeppelin, Shaggy meets the real Mr. Bean who is trapped in a hole, then a news crew comes to the island to interview the gang, but there's no Pamela Anderson, so we may as well just skip the scene. Okay, never mind, I won't, 'cause Scrappy almost says bitch.
So I got a little cranky.
Gee, Scraps, no reason to freak out like a jerk and try to kill all humanity.
I would have gotten away with it too, if not for your meddling sons of...
Why are they freaking out? Fred said it earlier. It's not that big a deal, it's hardly a curse word. Goddamn double standard sons of bitches. Then the world lived happily ever after, and there was never another mystery that ever needed to be solved again. Until summer 2004, when Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed came out. In rewatching this movie, I was genuinely entertained, and I understood some things I did not understand as a kid. This movie's really good as far as live-action cartoon movies go. This is about as good as they come, and they've tried doing this with movies like the Flintstones and the Smurfs, among many others, but none are as good as the Scooby-Doo movies. The only movies that even get close are the first two Alvin and the Chipmunks movies, but we all know what happened with the other ones. They were not good. I can't really explain why this movie's so good, but it has a certain charm and rides a line between cartoon absurdism while also staying in the realm of reality, which is something the original TV show did very well. One of the best ways this is implemented is when they're getting chased by the monsters and they jump out of a window, they do the cartoon thing where they hover for a second before they actually fall. The reason in this movie it's not looked at as a dumb cartoon trope is because it's really the only thing that happens and it isn't chock full with moments like this. Granted, the story in this movie is a little bit different than something that would be in the show, but it's close enough to where it feels like you're almost watching a cartoon. With that being said, this movie and its sequel are by far the best live-action Scooby-Doo movies and any cartoon movie, I think. I say this because if you've seen any of the other Scooby-Doo live-action movies that doesn't include this cast, they're not good. So yeah, that was a nice little trip down memory lane. Bye.